This past week saw the Reagan Defense Forum, the annual get-together in Simi Valley at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library of defense, industry, and public policy specialists and elected and appointed officials gather at the Reagan Library to talk defense. At the same time, the Public Policy Foundation of the Ronald Reagan Foundation released their annual survey results on what Americans think about national security. Rachel Hoff joins me now. She is the Director of Public Policy at the Forum. Good morning, Rachel. How are you?
Good morning, Hugh. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
You're up early, and I appreciate that. Rachel, what did the Reagan Foundation's public policy polling demonstrate this year?
Well, we've been doing this polling for 5 years now, Hugh, and so we're really getting a sense of where American public opinion is changing over the years and where it's staying the same. One of the trends we've seen, especially in the last 5 years, is the dramatic rise of the threat perception of the People's Republic of China. So Americans are coming to consensus, both Republicans and Democrats, perceiving China as the number one threat that we face. One area where we noted that public opinion is not changing from our polling in the last years and months is around Ukraine. Polling numbers on Ukraine staying remarkably consistent. 60% of Americans support sending continued U.S. military aid to Ukraine in their fight for freedom.
60%. Now, what does that mean over five? It's only over 3 years since the second invasion of Ukraine began. Has it dropped or has it shifted among who supports what?
We've been polling on Ukraine since this time last year in 2022. We did a summer poll as well just 6 months ago, and that's where those numbers are staying the same, as you said, since Vladimir Putin's second invasion of Ukraine. What we found is that both among Republicans and Democrats, the same numbers, rock solid support for sending U.S. military assistance to Ukraine to defeat Russian aggression, to push back on Russia's invasion, and to support their own sovereignty and democracy.
So I'm not surprised by the first finding that there is a rising perception of the threat posed by the People's Liberation Army and the People's Liberation Navy. Because Mike Gallagher and his committee's out there, all the candidates are talking about it, people are focused on it, reality as a way of interfering with our dreams, they're a threat. But I am surprised by your Ukraine finding because I've heard the Republican Party is divided on this. So how do you explain headlines versus data?
The headlines are, in my view, are reflective of minority view on both sides of the aisle, that we should focus on our problems here at home to the exclusion of our problems abroad. What our polling indicates is that Americans want us to do both. They believe that America can walk and chew gum at the same time. They want our president in the White House, our political leaders in Congress, to tend to our problems here at home, which are very real, and our polling indicates they feel on a very deep level, but also to demonstrate American leadership in the world. And that is, as you point out, Hugh, somewhat at dissonance with kind of the common narrative, if you were to only say follow debates in Congress, where outliers on both sides of the aisle are calling for some sort of kind of return to isolationism or focusing only exclusively on our problems here at home.
Well, I hope that gets through because the supplemental will include funding for Ukraine, funding for Israel, and border security, and that would be a yes vote based upon your polling. Let's go to Israel. I don't know when you were in the field doing your polling, Rachel Hoff, but was it before or after 10/7?
It was about a month after.
Okay, so what does that polling show for American support for Israel's right to destroy Hamas where they are in those tunnels?
So we saw in our poll, consistent with what we saw and the numbers on Ukraine and also in the numbers on Taiwan, Americans want the United States to be doing more to support our friends in Israel. They perceive Israel as an ally to the United States. They want the U.S. to be doing more to counter Hamas. And I will note, too, that we asked specifically, should we be doing more to support Israel, to support the Palestinians, and to counter Hamas? And the answer to all three was a resounding yes. We should support Israel. We should support the Palestinians in humanitarian aid, and we should support the Palestinians by countering Hamas. And then more broadly, Hugh, we polled on kind of Iranian influence in the region, both their nuclear development and their support of those regional terrorist organizations. And all around, the call among the American people is for greater American leadership and a stronger American role in the region and the world.
Rachel, let's conclude with the so-called two-state solution. I believe it's dead, at least for many years. Did you poll on that?
We did not poll on that particularly, Hugh, but what we did find in the polling was that a robust American role in the region would be well supported among the American people. And I think, zooming out a bit, we are the Ronald Reagan Institute. What Americans are looking for is a position of peace through strength, a policy and a strategy of peace through strength around the world, that the way to achieve a true peace and a lasting peace in that region and around the world is for America and for forces of freedom around the world to be strong so that tyrants and terrorists are not tempted.
Rachel Hoff, Director of Public Policy at the Reagan Institute, thank you for joining me. I always love hearing these summary details on when you're out in the field. Serious polling by serious people. Thank you, Rachel.